to all of our participants this evening. I'm so happy you were able to join us. My name is Nicole Imgrund, and I'm the owner and director of River's Edge Counseling Center. And this webinar tonight is one in a series of Wellness Matters webinars. If you are interested in seeing what other topics we've covered, we have about 35 or so of these webinars posted on the blog page of our website. This is our last webinar of this season. We'll be taking a break over the summer, but in a few weeks, I'm going to post our upcoming schedule for the fall to the website, and we have 7 or 8 webinars with some really exciting topics planned for the fall. So you're always welcome to join us. Our presenter this evening is Charanduk. Kira is a registered provisional psychologist and a member of the River's Edge Counseling Center team. Kira works with people from just about every age and stage of life and situation. She works with younger and older kids and teens and adults. She also works with families and couples. Kira practices from a person-centered viewpoint, and she also comes at her practice from an eclectic orientation, which means she works with a variety of approaches, customizing the therapy she does to work best for the client that she's meeting. And so that includes involving art and meditation. She does play therapy and also the Gottman couple therapy approach, among others. So Kira, I'm so excited for your topic this evening. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you. Oh, I'll just let the participants know, sorry, that you can make comments in the chat for sure if you have any technical difficulties or questions along the way. I'll keep my eye on it for Kira. Kira's presentation is about an hour, and it's going to have some experiential elements to it, which will be really lovely for us to participate in this evening. And we'll also stick around for a few minutes afterwards if you have any questions. And so I will moderate the Q&A in the chat and see if you have some questions that we can address later as well. Good. Okay, with that, I will turn it over.
Thanks, Nicole. All right, well, I just want to say hello and welcome to everyone. I'm so excited to be here tonight, and I really look forward to just letting loose and allowing creativity to kind of flow through us. So I am going to share this screen with all of you guys, share this PowerPoint. So as the webinar is titled, we'll be exploring kind of building our inner resources today. And I know that that's kind of a little bit vague right now, but we will definitely get more into that of what that means. So, okay. Nope. Okay. So first, I just wanted to start off by just saying thanks to everyone who's attending. I know that there's a lot going on in the world right now, and I'm just really grateful for everyone who took the time out tonight to be here tonight. And I would just like to honor each and every person who's working through this pandemic. So all of our frontline workers, everyone who's doing their part to keep everyone safe during these times that we're in right now. And lastly, I'd like to just acknowledge that we're on Indigenous peoples' land and territory. I'm located currently right now on the Treaty 6 land, and it's the land of the Blackfoot people. So in opening remarks, throughout our time tonight, I just want to remind you guys that if anything becomes kind of emotionally charged, if emotions bubble up, if we start to feel anything at all that we need to reach out to somebody or have a resource available, just take some time. You can take a picture of this slide, whatever you need. But these are some free resources to reach out, and they're anonymous. You can say anonymous if you want, but we can all be connected. And the most important thing is just to check in with ourselves and to know what we need. So for materials, what I'll do is I'll just kind of pause in a second, and you guys can grab anything that you want today. Okay, so there's nothing that we need. But, you know, other than if you have a piece of paper and some sort of writing utensil, so like a pen or a pencil or markers or whatever is available to everyone tonight, just kind of grab that. And I'll provide a bunch of examples for everyone. But I'm just going to pause for a minute and let everyone kind of grab something that they can kind of use for tonight. And so as everyone's kind of grabbing stuff, if you're still able to see my screen or anything like that, I'll just provide some examples. So, you know, if you have a rock in your garden, if you have a couple of them, or if you just have one, this can be an example of something. Little beads that you can get from the dollar stores. So all the things that we're doing tonight, like I said, you don't need to have anything specific, but later on, if you want to kind of add to it or build to it or, you know, do it again, then, you know, these are just kind of resources for everyone to kind of have and to acknowledge. So, you know, these are little kind of clear glass beads. And they have them at the Dollar Tree and probably the dollar store too. And so you can kind of glue little pictures onto the back, and then it magnifies it up. So there's a variety of sizes. There's kind of big ones and little ones. And then they also have little bags that you can kind of put them in. So that's another example. You know, other examples can be collage, paintings, whatever really fits for everyone. So just as a reminder, as we're doing art, being creative, you don't need to be artistic in any regard. You know, maybe some people classify them as artists, and that's amazing. But really, it's just whatever you want to bring to the table, and you know, opening yourself up to kind of creating that awareness of ourselves and opening up ourselves to creativity and new beginnings. And we don't have to be perfect. There's no right or wrong in art, and it just let it kind of flow naturally. So I want us to just take a moment, just check in with yourself tonight as we start today. So just take a nice deep breath, you know, take a couple breaths, stretch anything that you need to stretch. Maybe you need to roll your shoulders. If there's any tightness or tension in your body, just acknowledging it and kind of checking in, just noticing how you're feeling right now and what you need, take. So if you need to get up and you need to stretch, if you need to do anything like that, do it at your own leisure throughout our time together. I want to just kind of leave everyone with a bit of a grounding tool. So whenever we are, you know, working through anything, sometimes emotions can be elicited, they can kind of be stirred up. So this is a great, easy tool that we can go to just to kind of center ourselves. So we call it a grounding tool. And what that means is we just bring awareness back into our bodies. We just kind of slow it down and we connect with our body, get our brain back on, connected to everything that's going on. And we can start to through that awareness of the body, we can start to level our emotions back into a place where they're not so up here, but kind of more here, more comfortable for us. So what it is leaf breathing. So I'll do it directed at everyone this way, but you can look at your hand for each of you guys. So great technique. So what you'll do is as you go up your hand, just following it with your index finger going all the way up, and you're breathing in as you do that. And then you're breathing out as you go down your hand. Once you get to the bottom, just cross over your palm. And so as you're doing this, if you ever need to kind of slow that breath down to just center yourself, what I want you to focus on is just going nice and slow, kind of following each bump and curve of your hand as you go along. And each time, just go a little bit slower. So with each one, breathing in a little bit slower and breathing out just a little bit slower. So that is one of those grounding tools. Other ones that you can do is counting down from 100 to 0, and you can do it by threes, just kind of getting that brain back on and allowing ourselves to just kind of be centered in the moment. So some goals for today. So what I'm really hoping for is, out of today's wellness webinar, is for each of you to take a deeper look inside. And we're just going to build strengthening some resources that we all carry within ourselves. So to start, we're just going to start to work on building those resources. So building them from outside of ourselves and allowing us to learn the resources, what we need, and then we can build and adapt them for what fits for us. We're all unique, we're all different, and what one person needs is going to be a little bit different than another person. So throughout tonight, you can kind of just start to get that brain rolling of what's going to fit for you and what do you need to take from today's learning. And we're just building that reminder of strength that we carry within ourselves, using the power and the knowledge that when life gets a little bit too much, because of course it does, right? We have life's ups and downs. And so whenever it gets to be just a little bit too much, then maybe this is a tool that you can bring back and utilize to help out through those times. Alrighty, so what I want to start with today is just kind of talking about building awareness. So building self-awareness is a skill. So in order to develop new skills, like everything in life, we practice them. So just like if we're taking a swim and we're learning how to swim, the first thing we're going to do before we get into that ocean is we're going to learn how to swim in the pool. So by practicing them, we gain comfort, we gain confidence, and we get better at it. So our mental health is really no different than, our physical health. So like working out or swimming or playing piano, any skill, really, we want to practice so that we have it for when we need it in those moments. And self-awareness begins with reflection. So really step one is what we just want to finish doing is kind of checking in with ourselves like we started, right? So we want to check in with ourselves. That builds that reflection, that self-awareness, checking in with our body, our thoughts, our feelings, and starting to just notice what's going on for us. And when we start to notice that, then we're able to start to be a little bit more aware of our body. Often our body is a great indicator, kind of alerting us before we actually know that something's happening. So the more we kind of practice with checking in with our body, the better able we're going to be to kind of catch ourselves before we have those moments where we get really, really high and those emotions, our emotions become supercharged. And we're able to allow it to be a little bit more controlled. Of course, there's going to be times when we get up to that point and we have, those big emotional charges. But what we're doing is, trying to eliminate that so we don't have as many. And with that, when we do have more control over our emotions, it definitely feels a little bit better than when we're kind of popped out of our zone. Our emotions are really, really large. So I just wanted to start with kind of just a little insight look into that self-awareness. And just a reminder too that it takes time, right? That it's like I said, it's practice, and we're not going to be at the very end, kind of at the place where we want to necessarily be, because that's goal is, right? We're working towards that. And through that journey, we often learn a lot more about ourselves. So what we're going to be doing tonight is we are going to be building our, I like to call it our inner warrior shield. So what I want to say is, just like we talked about that self-awareness, we're just acknowledging kind of what's going on for us. And in those times where we are emotionally charged, that we can shift out of those overwhelming emotions that we face at times. And this might be a resource that connects with you, might be a resource that you want to share with others. And we'll talk a little bit more about how you can adapt it later on. And just a resource for you to bring up if and when you ever need it. So one way to build this inner resource, and I guess we should kind of clarify what inner resources are. So basically, we all hold resources within ourselves that we can bring up in times when we need them. And we'll be connecting these resources through visualization. And then after visualization, allowing our artistic abilities to flow and to just kind of flush out those resources. So like I said, I call it the inner warrior shield, because it's there to help us when we need it. And so we're all in need of assistance ever so often. And so there's three kind of parts that we're going to be working with today, three parts that we're going to be building and exploring and kind of figuring out. So as you can see, those three parts are that protective, nurturing, and wise. So that protector is that element that keeps us safe, kind of backs us up when we need it. That wisdom is that voice of reason, the voice of reassurance and knowledge. And the nurturance is to help us to gather us up when we need that. So we need that nurturing kind of holding to hold us in those moments, that being with. So those are the ones that we're going to work on. So give me one sec. There you go. Okay. So we're going to start by building reminders of our inner strengths. Then we want to focus. So we'll focus on, kind of fleshing those out. And we're going to explore them separately. So each one at a time. And then I'll kind of ask you questions as we're going along. And they're just rhetorical questions, just questions for you to kind of ponder, to think about. And if there's ever something that kind of gets elicited or, you want to chat more about that, then of course, reaching out to us is always okay. So the first one we're going to be working on is the protector. So what I want everyone to do first is I really just want to invite you to think about what your inner protector is like. So if you had to think about a protector that you can imagine right now, what would it be like? Perhaps it's like a bodyguard. Maybe it's a really big bodyguard, and it's a person who maybe you've met before, or maybe you can just imagine of what this bodyguard looks like. Maybe it's a certain animal. Maybe it's like a really big bear and it has your back, and you can picture what that inner protector bear looks like for you. So take a moment just to connect and just to see, what does that inner protector look like? What would your inner protector be like? And as you picture your inner protector, I want you to focus on the fact that you're not alone and that you have an inner protective figure that's with you always. And as we picture this protective part, so as we picture this protective part within us, I'd like you to notice your body. Just notice your body in any place that you can hold this protector. Maybe you want to hold this protector within your stomach. Maybe you want to hold this protector within your fist. Whatever body part that you can kind of connect this inner protector with. Maybe you want to kind of touch that spot right now. Maybe you just want to think about it. It's whatever fits for you and whatever you need in this moment. Now, once you have that image of that inner protector, and of course, it's the first time that we're talking about this, perhaps. So it might take a little bit of time to think about it, for something to come up. And you can have one, you can have many. It's whatever fits for you. So maybe you have one protector. Maybe you have an army. Maybe you have a bunch of protectors kind of all gathering around you, and those are the ones that have your back. So with whatever kind of art material that you have for tonight, like I said, you don't need anything. Maybe it's a piece of paper, whatever's kind of available to you and you have. I want you to start to add to this shield. So maybe you want to draw on the piece of paper, maybe you want to draw 3 parts and it's in a circle and that's your shield. Maybe you want to have 3 individual pieces, whatever works for you. So what I want you to do is just to start to bring that inner protector to life. Bring it to life on your piece of paper. And so if we go back to this one, this protector, this is a piece of artwork that I have in my house. And Laura Zombie, she is an artist. She's the one who did this, and it's called The Courage. And I think it's such a powerful image. This little child behind them has this big polar bear, this protector that has that child's back. So if you can imagine, what is that protector, and start to channel that inner artist and start working on that piece. And as you guys are working on this, I'll just kind of toss out, some thoughts for people to ponder, like I said, and I'll give you a bit of time to work on it. So what I want you to think about is what that part looks like. So really kind of noticing all the details, really noticing what you can see. Maybe this protector part, maybe it has a way of protecting you. Maybe it has an object that it uses, whatever this protector part does to protect you. So just take a minute to think about how this protector part protects you. For this image, this protector part, this bear has those teeth, it has those claws, it has its size, that it's really, really large. So whatever way your protector part can protect you. And as you're thinking about that, I also want to have you think about what would this protector part sound like? That if you ask this protector part a question, or if you need to bring this protector part up, what would it sound like? Would it have a deep voice, a soft voice, a harsh voice? Just thinking about what this protector part would sound like. Maybe it doesn't have a voice, it has a growl, maybe it's a wall. Maybe it doesn't have a voice or a sound, and that's okay. Does this protector part have a certain smell? Maybe if You have a smell that reminds you, you know, maybe your protective part is someone that you know. It can be real or it can be imagined, right? Maybe your protective part is a grandparent you had that always had your back, or a teacher or a parent. Maybe there's a certain smell that really brings up that memory for you. And what does this protective part feel like? Perhaps, like I said, maybe it's a wall. Maybe it's really sturdy if you touched it. Maybe it'd be rough. Maybe it's slippery that nobody can climb up it when you need to put that protective part up. Maybe it's slippery. Maybe it's an animal. Maybe it's soft, or it has some fur. Really just thinking about all the aspects that we can think about for that protective part. That when we need it, we need to bring up that protective aspect of ourselves. That we can imagine it and we can remember what it looks like. And how does this inner protector keep you safe? Really just thinking about when would you want this protective figure? When would it be a time that this protective figure could come out to help keep you safe? And so I want to move to the next figure. And if you're not done that protective figure, that is okay. You can always go back to kind of flesh it out some more. Whatever you need, you can kind of go back in your time. So our next figure, after our protective figure, is our wise. This is our wise figure. And again, it can be imagined. So it could be an owl, or maybe a spiritual figure like Buddha, or it can be a real figure, someone who when you think about a wise part, that if you think when you need some inner wisdom, then you can bring this figure up. And maybe it's a real one. Maybe it's a teacher or a professor that you've had, a grandparent or an elder, someone that you know that's been there for you and given you advice, kind of been that voice of reason for you. So what kind of pops up for you when we talk about a wise figure? So when you can imagine right now what this wise figure would look like, what this wise figure would be like, I want you to just start to notice what you're seeing. And as we did with our protective figure, as you're noticing this wise figure, where in your body could you hold this wise figure? Where in your body, if you need that voice of reason, you need to kind of have some advice. Something's going on and you need to bring up that wise figure. What place in your body could you kind of touch, or could you think about that wise figure lives in? Maybe it's your head, maybe it's your eyes, wherever in your body that wise figure, that when you touch it, that can bring up that wise figure memory. So let's start to explore, and you can start to add that art of that wise figure, whatever fits, connects for you, however you want to depict that wise figure right now. So as you're doing that, really kind of noticing what you see for that wise figure. noticing what that wise figure looks like, what that wise figure would sound like, what that wise figure what advice would that wise figure give you? So if you are having some doubts, you're needing that advice, that voice of reason, that maybe there's a piece of doubt coming out, and you need a voice of reason. What would it sound like? What advice could you get from that wise figure? Maybe there's a smell that takes you back to a memory, or a certain smell that could elicit that wise figure to pop up for you, to remind you that inner wisdom is within you. So when we think about that, maybe there's certain feelings that pop up. Maybe there's feelings that pop up about this inner wisdom. Maybe there's a feeling in your body. Maybe there's a physical feeling that you could imagine for this wise figure to have. So just noticing how you can depict this wise figure for yourself. I'll give you a couple more minutes. Okay. And we're going to go to our next figure, last one. So if your wise figure is not done quite yet, that's okay. We'll be going back to them to kind of add to them in a couple minutes too, so we can have more time. But we're going to go to our nurturing figure. So this is our third element, the one that talks about our inner nurturing. So we need that nurturance. So when you think about a nurturing figure, what image kind of pops up? Maybe it's imagined, maybe it's nature. That maybe getting into nature can be that nurturance for you. Maybe a piece of that self-care. Maybe it's a blanket. Maybe that nurturing figure is a blanket that you've had in the past, maybe as a child, or maybe a stuffed animal. Maybe it's real, maybe it's a loved one. Maybe a partner or a parent or a friend. Maybe someone who provides you with that nurturance currently or maybe in the past. You know, maybe in the past with a beloved pet. That they kind of always were there to give you some love, some cuddles, whatever you needed in those moments when you felt like you needed some nurturing. So as we think about this nurturing figure, just taking a moment to kind of picture what this nurturing figure looks like. What image is popping up for you? What do you see? What is this nurturing figure like for you? And as you think about this nurturing figure, thinking about all the parts, you can start to to think about how it connects with your body. Where can you hold this nurturing figure in your body? Maybe hold it within your heart. That when you kind of place your hand on your heart, that you can feel that nurturing figure. That nurturing figure is a reminder, and it can kind of come out when you need it. Maybe you want to hold that nurturing figure somewhere else. Whatever fits for you, wherever you want to kind of picture holding that nurturing figure within your body. And so as you're thinking about this nurturing figure, you can start to add it to your paper, your object, or whatever you have. Start to make that nurturing resource for yourself. And as we're doing that, just kind of fleshing it out, just like the protective figure, the wise figure. Really just noticing, what do you see? Maybe there's something that you hear with it. Maybe you're in nature and you can hear babbling of a brook or leaves. Maybe what you feel. Maybe there's an emotion that gets stirred up, a feeling of love, a feeling of being cared for, a feeling of warmth. Maybe there's a physical feeling, a touch. Maybe it is that fuzzy blanket that you had as a kid, and you can feel, you can remember how it feels to be wrapped up in it, knowing that you're loved, that you're cared for. I want you to think about, as you're letting those creativeness kind of flow through you, just kind of noticing, how does inner nurturance take care of you? How does this nurturing figure take care of you? How does it provide you with that nurturance that you need, that you crave? That some days we need more than other days. Sometimes we need it more than other times. So how can this nurturance really be there for you? That you know that when you kind of can picture it, that it's there for you. It's able to kind of hold you. It's able to take everything and wrap you up and keep you feeling loved. And how do we feel about this nurturing figure? So what feelings are popping up right now? Maybe there's some feelings popping up in regards to this nurturing figure that you've created for yourself. So I'll give you just a little bit more time just to kind of flesh out that nurturing figure, allowing you to add any details that you need to add. All right, so what I want you to do is, maybe you have all of these figures on one sheet of paper, maybe you have them on many, maybe they're on different objects, you know, whatever you put these figures on, however you displayed them. I want you to put them kind of all out in front of you. Just kind of have them all spread out in front of you so you can see them. And with each one, I want to start to just explore, what are some qualities that each of these figures hold. So I want you to think about, What's the quality that your inner protective figure holds? And so quality could be, maybe it's a word. That when you think of that protective figure, you think protective, courageous, strong, powerful, confident, certain. Maybe a word of has my back, protects me. Just think about some words. Think about some words that fit for this figure that you've created. And what you can do, if you want, if you choose, is you can just think about the words that connect with this figure, or you can add them to your piece of artwork. So maybe you want to add a word to your artwork. Maybe you want it to say connected or strong or invincible or powerful, and you want to write that word. I know that's a little hard to see, but you want to write that word on maybe one of your objects to remind you of this inner quality that this protective figure that lives within inside of you has. That when you think of this protector part, what would you feel when it's there? Safe, protected, invincible. That when you need that inner protective figure to come out, you can think of that word and it brings up that inner protector. You can think of that inner protector, you can picture that, you can have it, you can hold that piece, that part of your body that holds that inner protector, and you can think of that word. Confident, powerful, strong, courageous, protective. So take a couple more seconds to just kind of flesh that out with your protective figure. I want you to look at your wise figure. And as you look at your wise figure, what are some qualities that are provoked with your wise figure? Knowledge, judgment. They have a clear judgment of what's going on. It's not skewed or hindered by doubt or worries. Understanding, insight. They have an insight. Intelligence. That wise figure knows. You know what's right. They know what's needed. You can trust in them. Any words, any phrases, maybe a quote that can act as a reminder of this wise figure. And I'll read a quote by Don Eon. Find your inner wisdom voice. There lies your personal truth. Listen past your fears. They drown out what is true for you. Look beyond your anger, which often is buried under your fear. Set aside your desires and wants and listen to what your inner wisdom voice says about what you need to become whole and heal. So maybe that inner wisdom, maybe there's a quote out of a book or a song Maybe there's a poem that really speaks to you for that inner wisdom, that you can add to that image, that you can remember those qualities that that inner wisdom holds, that knowledge, that insight, that understanding, whatever connects for your inner wisdom. You can have that wisdom, you can visualize what that figure looks like. You can touch that spot in your body that holds that wisdom. You can remind yourself of those words, those qualities that that inner wisdom has. So take a couple seconds to just finish up with that inner wisdom. And the last one, if we turn to that nurture. So as you look at that nurture picture, that artwork that you did for that nurturing figure, what are some qualities that are provoked? Emotional, physical nurturing, and taking care of, encouragement, foster, to hold, to be looked after. Maybe a word of being with. And maybe that nurturing figure, that what it has is to be with you, to be beside you. And that can be really powerful in those moments. We need that nurturing aspect. Just having the knowledge that we're not alone. So take a moment to think about, is there any words that you want to add to this nurturing figure, this nurturing piece that you've created for yourself? Maybe there's a song that really stirs up those feelings of being cared for. Maybe there's a quote. Maybe there's a memory. You can jot down just a few phrases of what that memory is. Like on the boat at grandma's, or, sitting on the porch swing, or whatever kind of memory you have that really elicits that nurturing figure and kind of can remind you. And you can have that spot on your body, and when you touch it, you have that nurturing figure. You imagine that nurturing figure with you. You can have that word. You can have that art. That all remind you of that nurturing figure within. So in the last couple of minutes, what we're going to do is check in with ourselves. So I want you just to think about, how was that activity for you? How did this activity feel? How do you feel right now? Maybe this activity, maybe there was a change. Maybe you felt differently at the beginning, differently in the middle while you were doing the art, and maybe differently at the end. Just noticing kind of what was happening for you, noticing any shifts from that beginning to the middle to the end. And just thinking about how could you adapt this activity? Is there a way that this activity could be adapted that would maybe suit you better? Maybe there's a way that you want to adapt this activity for remembering, for using it. So how could you adapt this activity for yourself if you need to? Maybe this activity fits for you. Maybe you don't feel like you need to adapt it. And that's okay too. Whatever works for you, whatever you need. And is there anything that you would change for yourself about this activity? So kind of similar to that adaptation, right? Is there anything that you'd want to change about this activity that you would want to do differently, or that you need more of? So if so, just thinking about how you'd want to change it, how it could fit a little bit better for you if you need. And I want us just to take a moment to check in with our bodies. So going back into our bodies, just noticing how they feel right now in this moment. Tension, tightness, relaxation, calm. Maybe checking in with your heart, checking in with your breathing. Taking a few moments just to acknowledge what's going on in your body right now. Taking a breath, moving, whatever you need, whatever your body needs. And is there any takeaways that you have from doing this activity? Is there anything that you can take away? Anything that perhaps you learned about yourself or has been brought to your awareness through this activity? Just thinking about any takeaways that you can take away from today. So I want to take a couple minutes just to talk to you about adaptations. So on the previous slide, I asked you, is there any way that you could adapt this? And so I want to let you know a couple ways that you can adapt it to expand it to others if you choose. So this can be an activity that can be done with teens, it can be done with kids, and it's a helpful thing, a helpful way to start to really check in with ourselves, to really build that self-awareness, which is really crucial in managing our emotions, managing our feelings and our thoughts and everything. So one of those ways is to start with that awareness of the self. So with that, while we're kind of expanding those inner qualities, then we're externalizing them. We're building an image, we're building art, we're building a way to kind of externalize those inner qualities that we all hold. that when we need them, we can visualize them, we can have them, we're ready. We have them right there. They're a reminder for us. So you can really adapt it to whatever you need. And perhaps someone in your life might need too. And like I said, with kids and teens, you can adapt it to their level and their abilities. And it can be a nice way for you to have a check-in with them too. And if our emotions start to get really big and they're bubbling over, of course, right? We're humans and that happens. Then it can be a reminder of, hey, what would your inner wisdom say right now with those thoughts that are kind of popping up for you? So that's a way that we can adapt if we need, and if you choose, and if you want to. So we're at the end of my presentation, and then Nicole said that we're going to do some thoughts and questions and any reflections. So I'm open to whatever people want to kind of toss out on the chat. Thanks for listening.